Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to continue on with a subject that I started talking about on Saturday, about how a judge in California has ruled their 32-year-old assault weapons ban as unconstitutional. Now, I want to talk about a couple of different things here real quick. First, I want to address people that commented on that video saying, this don't mean nothing, this always happens and then it gets overturned and blah, blah, blah. There's always the naysayers and the negative Nancys out there who say stuff like this, but I want to point out to them that this is a big step. And if you paid attention to my video, you will have noticed I said it'll probably go to the Ninth Circuit where it might be upheld. I'm thinking there's a good chance it'll be upheld, considering previous rulings like this have been upheld by the Ninth Circuit on a single judge hearing. But then the California people will hand select a special little selection of judges to sit on an en banc panel, and they'll have it overturned. But then I said, well, this will be a great thing to take to the Supreme Court, because we now have contradictory rulings about whether assault weapons bans are constitutional or not. So it is not a final step, and I made it very clear in that video that it isn't a final step, and it isn't a large victory. It's a big step towards a large victory. It's a battle one. It doesn't win the war, but it definitely is a small victory as far as, battles go. So just wanted to say that to the naysayers. Also, I wanted to say that I think the way he overturned it is very important, because he very much in his decision made a point of saying that this is a failed experiment. And I think one of the reasons he said that is because in a lot of courts around the country and the Ninth Circuit, they use this system of merit that says, well, it's okay to violate the Constitution if it's for public safety, which isn't in the Constitution. The Constitution nowhere says, hey, these rules are only absolute if you think that they're good for you and everyone around you. That doesn't say that anywhere in the Constitution. So this is kind of a faulty premise that the courts have been using for years now. And a lot of new judges like Barrett, etc., don't believe in that. They say the Constitution needs to be judged on what is written in it and its intent when it was written. And there's no caveat in there for, well, unless you think it starts to get dangerous for people to have these rights, because danger is part of freedom. So I wanted to address that very fact that he said this is a failed experiment, because I think that was a very clever way for him to put it, because not only is it just saying, hey, I'm someone who believes the Constitution doesn't allow for assault weapons bans, but he also said, even if you do believe in that whole public safety caveat, this hasn't been working. It's a failed experiment. So therefore, the justification you're using of public safety to violate a right isn't a justification, because you're not making anybody safer. And I want to say he's absolutely right. And the way he crafted this is ingenious. In fact, wow, who would have thought that a highly educated, experienced professional knows what they're talking about? Because he did this ruling perfectly as far as I'm concerned. And now all the anti-gun pundits are out on the news right now, freaking out and losing their shit. That's a good sign that they're all collectively losing their shit. Because they know this is probably headed to the Supreme Court. And they know they don't have a very good chance of winning there. So they're on the news and they're lying. And one of the things they love to say is a lie. And I want people to be prepared to counter this when they say it. As I heard it multiple times in the last day on the news. If you look at assault weapons bans, they're not a failed experiment, even though California has some of the toughest gun laws, lots of shootings in California. But they're like, if you look at the bigger picture, if you look at the assault weapons ban, the national assault weapons ban, when it was instated and when it was in fact, crime just went down sharply. And then as soon as it was sunset and it went away, crime shot up 300%, which is an absolute lie. It's a lie as far as it shooting up 300% as soon as the law sunset. And it's a misuse of numbers to say crime declined, violent crime, homicides, etc. declined during the assault weapons ban. The assault weapons ban was passed during a sharp decline in violence. Violence was already working its way down. They passed the assault weapons ban. It continued at, quite often, a slightly slower rate of decline than it was before the assault weapons ban was passed, sometimes the same, sometimes slower. And it continued to do that for about half of the assault weapons ban. Then it slowed drastically. And crime actually started climbing quickly while there was still 3 years left on the assault weapons ban. It was just a natural cycle of violence. It was going down from a massive high, the highest we've ever seen. And then it started declining. And it was during that decline from that massive high, which is what made it seem like, oh, it did such a good job, if you misuse numbers. But if you look at the trend line and you look at the natural cycle, it had very little effect. Even the studies done by the federal government, the CDC, the FBI, everybody came out and said, in the end, when you look at the numbers, it is at the best inconclusive. There is no definite evidence of that it had any effect on homicides or violent crimes, and there is evidence to the contrary. So it did little or nothing, most likely nothing, as far as homicides and violent crime was concerned. They just happened to pass it at the right time to take advantage of a trend already. That would be like saying if the economy was soaring, like we had a bust, like, a recession, and we're soaring from that recession, and then 3 years into that soaring, a new president's elected, and keeps that trend continues, maybe not quite as sharply, but just, a little less so, but still keeps going up, and then they claim credit for the economy's going up so fast because of me. No, it was already an upward trend. Same thing with crime here. It was already a sharp downward trend. You just happened to come in right in the middle of that trend, or actually at the bottom of the trend. Because, like I said, with the last 3 years of the act, crime started going back up. And by the time it expired, crime was probably multiple times higher than it was at the lowest point during the ban. But that doesn't mean it started climbing at the bottom of the ban like they falsely portray. It started climbing during the ban. And the decline was because of other factors, not the ban. Like I say, every peer-reviewed study that is of merit, they love to say, okay, well, if you look at the peer-reviewed studies, well, I've looked at the peer-reviewed studies of what happened there from the FBI, etc., and they say little or no effect. So if that's true, and we do look at the bigger picture, and these assault weapons bans and other similar measures are not having any effect on public safety, well, even if you're one of those people that believes you get to throw the Constitution away and for the sake of public safety, you still don't have a leg to stand on, like I say, for passing assault weapons bans. And that's why they're panicking right now, because the way this judge worded this, like I said, was perfect. Even using that system of defending or validating a violation by public safety, it doesn't work. And another argument they always try to use is, well, no right's absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. It's illegal. So if we can restrict the first, we can restrict the second. No, you can't, because it is not illegal to yell fire in a crowded theater. If I go in a crowded theater right now and I go fire and no one does anything, no crime's been committed. If I incite a panic, well, then there's a crime been committed, inciting a panic. Just like if you have a gun and you shoot someone, a crime's been committed if you shoot someone for no good reason. Same thing with speech. The speech itself isn't restricted. If your speech results in something dangerous or illegal, like misusing a gun and committing murder, well, then it's restricted. You're restricted from using your free speech to incite a riot or to cause damage. Just like you're restricted from using your firearms to kill people for no reason or injure people for no reason or intimidate people. You can't go around waving your gun in people's faces. That's a misuse of your right. Unless you got good reason to wave your gun in their face. So the arguments they use are weak at best, and I just want people to be prepared for them. Like I said, when they start talking to you about how effective the assault weapons ban was, point out to them, no, it wasn't. Crime was already steeply declining before it was passed, and a little more than halfway through it, it leveled off and then started climbing again, as if the ban wasn't there. And every study done showed that it had little to no effect on crime, so therefore it does not validate removing our rights, violating our constitutional rights, which there's no actual constitutional justification for it anyway. If we were going to use that validation, and this is one of the things I love to throw back at, and if we're going to say if it's okay for public safety to limit people's free speech, or limit people's rights, well, then clearly the founding fathers never foresaw the internet. When they said people can say what they want and without the government intervening, they thought, well, you can stand on the courthouse steps and say what you want to the 20 or 30 people that are there. Maybe 200 if you live in a big city. But now any idiot can get on the internet and millions of people can hear their insightful rhetoric. So therefore, we have to limit what people can say. The government has to step in and censor free speech. Well, I don't think most people on the left would support that. So I don't think, it's the same thing with media. When they talked about media, free press, and the founding fathers, they talked about a little paper place that printed out papers and handed them out maybe to a couple hundred people in a small area. They didn't have national distribution. Now on the internet, any crackpot journalist can tell millions of people whatever they want to tell them. So therefore, oh wow, that's not safe for the public that way, is it? So that argument they use about being better for public safety or for the public good, being able to restrict constitutional rights, I would caution them to watch how you use that, because that leads to authoritarian regimes really quickly. So if you want to apply it to the second, you can apply it to any other right. And in the case of gun control, even if you do allow it to be applied, gun control is a failed experiment. It did not change how or why crimes are committed. So let's give up on that. And then let's start dealing with what really is wrong with our country. Let's actually start fixing problems. Let's deal with the gang problem. There goes most of your gun violence that's enacted on one person by another right there. Gang violence gone, most violent crime is gone. Get rid of the stigma on mental health and actually start providing mental health services for people, especially people who have temporary situations like they are depressed or distraught because of a breakup or a romantic involvement. Get rid of help with people not commit crimes of passion. There goes most of the rest of person-on-person violence. And if we just want to stop deaths, start giving people treatment for depression, etc. Lower those suicide rates, especially with veterans. Well, that gets rid of the vast majority of gun deaths right there. Let's start dealing with real issues. Let's not waste our time anymore with things like gun laws and assault weapons bans. Let's deal with real issues. And now that we can see that gun control is nothing more than, like this judge said, a failed experiment, we can move on and do things that might actually have a chance of making us all happier, healthier, and safer. All right, everybody, I want to do things a little differently today. I want to go ahead and do our rescued pet of the day right here in the middle of the show. And today we have Mocha. And Mocha comes to us from Benjamin L. Benjamin rescued Mocha to be a companion to his other cat that he already had. So there's something we know here about Benjamin, and that is that he likes cats. And another thing we know about Benjamin, based on the fact that he likes cats and he carries a Glock 43, is that Benjamin is very secure with his feminine side, very much in touch with it, and very secure with his masculinity. So I want to say congratulations to Benjamin for being a good human and adopting a kitty cat in need, giving it a great home. And I want to say congratulations to Mocha for finding her forever home. And a little advice to Mocha, don't eat the people that rescue you. I know I have a black cat that's a rescue that likes to do that too. She goes for the marrow every time she goes at me. But be a little kinder to the hand that feeds you there, Mocha. But, you get a cat, you expect to have a little bit of them tasting you every now and then. They're not really trying to eat you then. They're just seeing, well, what are you going to taste like when you die and I have to eat your corpse? But like I said, congratulations to Benjamin L. for being a good guy and adopting that kitty cat, even though you have questionable taste in firearms. And congratulations to Mocha for finding her forever home, or his forever home. I don't even know if it's a boy or a girl. All right, to end the show today, I want to move on and talk about Benjamin L. a little more, the guy who adopted that kitty cat and carries that crappy gun in the last segment. Benjamin is a past felon, but he can carry a gun. And why can he carry a gun? Because he went to the effort of getting himself pardoned. You see, he was arrested for, looks like, drug offenses, got a felony record. But then when he got out, he went to the trouble of actually using the system that is in place to get your rights back to do so. And he said it cost him about $2,500, which that makes me sad because the whole thing should be free. There should be a system that's free to do it. You just get on a website, log in, put your information in. And if you got a crime that you've been convicted of, like drug possession or something like that, should go away. especially on today's standards, when a lot of the things that they did back then wouldn't even be illegal today. That'd be like saying, I want to try to get a pardon. And they're like, what did you do? Well, I ate meat on Friday and now I'm a felon and should be stoned to death. Oh, wow. Okay, we'll give you a pardon because that's not illegal now. If you look back in time, some of the things you could have gone to jail or being a felon for, like saying the wrong word on the wrong day, eating the wrong supper dish on the wrong day, etc. Nowadays, it doesn't make sense to still be punished for that. It's like there's a skit that one of the comedians does where someone went to hell. And he talks about, the old timer in hell asked him, hey, what'd you do? And he said, I killed a gay guy. I went to prison. And he goes, what? You can't do that anymore? Because when he was alive, that was totally legal. You wouldn't go to hell for that. And the murderer asked, well, what are you in here for, old timer? And he goes, I ate meat on Friday. So just goes to show you how silly it is, how some things used to be illegal, they aren't now, and still making people be punished for like drug offenses is stupid. I didn't have to go through that whole reciting a stand-up routine to tell you that, but I did. So he went through the process. So I want to let people know, if you are a felon and it's a drug offense or something like that, a non-violent crime, look into getting your rights restored. It can be done. He's proof. Now, I'm a firm believer that as soon as you are released from prison, as soon as they open those doors and they give you back your boots, your wallet, and your hat, they should also hand you a pocket copy of the Constitution and say you also get this back and you get these rights back. So maybe think about it before you commit another crime because you don't want to lose these rights again. So I'm a firm believer, you get them back as soon as you step out of prison. As soon as you are released, as soon as you are safe for society again, you are free to go and get your rights back. But for those of you out there right now waiting for that perfect world to be real, there are processes in place. I don't like how expensive, like he said his was, but if you can do it and not have to live your life unable to protect yourself, to a lot of people out there, it's probably worth it. All right, everybody, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back again tomorrow. Until then, I just want to sign off by saying, as usual, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. It could be better, but it could also be a lot worse. But what it will be, if we continue to ignore the fearmongers, the profiteers, the propagandists, the people that want to manipulate you, control you, and profit off you at the expense of our rights and our freedoms, if we continue to ignore those people and do what's right, and fight hard and smart for our rights, what things will be in the very near future is better.